Alicia claims she had to cancel her wedding.
Yeah, this is case number 104 on the calendar in the matter of Burden versus Duncan. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat, please.
Miss Burden, you were supposed to be married in Las Vegas. And according to your complaint, the defendant was a guest of a member of your wedding party. You were all supposed to be traveling from one place to another by plane. Where were you coming from?
We came from Flint, Michigan.
And you were going to Las Vegas?
Las Vegas.
Your complaint alleges that Miss Duncan, while you were waiting for the plane in Michigan, I assume.
In Atlanta.
That was a layover? Got drunk. And because she was drunk and unruly, your entire wedding party was thrown off the plane. You missed your wedding. All your deposits were lost. You're still not married, all because of her bad behavior.
That's true.
That's what you allege. Okay, so you hadn't met her before?
No.
Who was she the guest of?
My cousin, Tiara.
Is she here today?
Yes, she is.
That's Tiara. Okay, so tell me the story. I'm listening.
We got to Atlanta, and we were going to get on the next plane to get to Las Vegas. AirTran had overbooked each flight 15 to 20 people, so we had to wait for the next flight. That was at 9 o'clock in the morning. The second flight was at 11:25. We're on standby, so we're on a list.
Why were you on standby?
That's the buddy passes, they're standby tickets.
How many buddy passes did you have?
I had, for me and my fiance, his uncle and aunt, and my cousin and her two friends.
Where did you get them from?
Ibrahim, a friend of the family.
Ibrahim.
He's
you.
here as a witness, too.
What's your last name, sir?
Abdul Rahim.
Mr. Rahim. Where did you get these buddy passes
I
from?
work for the airline. We get 6 buddy passes a year. Once Tiara said that she had a cousin going to get married, I tried to help him out. So I got them from 2 other friends that work for AirTran.
So you get 6 per year. How much do you pay for them?
They're $50.
So it's $350.
Yes.
Okay. Sit down. Okay. Go ahead.
So my fiance's uncle and aunt got on the plane. We had to wait for the 7:45 flight. My cousin Tiara and her friends decided to go drinking in the airport. Me and my fiance slept for a while, and then we woke up about 3. We were looking for them, and they were downstairs at a bar. They had already drank a bar tab of $79, and Heather and her friend left with this guy they met at the bar. They got back about 7, and we just made it up there in time to get on the 7:45 plane. The flight attendant said there was 5 seats left, and there was just 5 of us, but she miscounted. There was only 4 seats.
Okay, so there was one person who had to get off.
Yeah, but Miss Duncan was hollering and cursing at her, so she made everybody get off the plane. So we all get off the plane, and Heather's still at the bottom of the ramp arguing with this woman. The lady's closing the door. She's trying to open the door, and we're all walking up the ramp, and she's still down there arguing. So my fiance goes down there and tells her, come on, we have to go because the ramp's closed, and you can feel it pulling back. She takes off walking. We meet back up with her at the baggage claim, and she started cursing at the lady in the baggage claim, telling her that she's never been treated like that before, and she flies here and there. But we're on standby. You can't act a fool when you're on standby because you represent the person that gets you the ticket. So after I filled out my claim, I go outside, step outside for a cigarette. She comes running past me saying, stall the police, they're after me, and takes off. I'm sitting there like, what's going on? So I go back in. They got U.S. Homeland Security there, Atlanta police there, the airport police. They're looking for her. She calls my cousin on the phone telling her she's laying in the back of somebody's truck. And that's where it all went from there. So we had to call the reservations in the morning to see if we can get put on the next flight in the morning to go to Vegas. They canceled our tickets because of her actions. We had to purchase new tickets to go home. It was a mess.
It was a mess.
Yeah, a disaster.
Okay. You remember what happened that day?
I do.
You remember everything that happened that day, Miss Duncan?
Yes, ma'am.
Were you drunk?
We had all been to the bar. We had all
I
been
didn't ask
drinking.
about anybody else. I only asked about you. Were you drunk?
I was not over my limit, no, ma'am.
You think you were able to drive a car?
No, I would not have drove a car, no, ma'am.
Well, then you were drunk. Then you were legally drunk if you would not have driven a car. Did you create a scene on the plane?
I did not.
Tell me what happened on the plane.
Well, we were on standby all day, like she said.
That's right. You were on standby all day, and now you're on, and they tell us one person
Didn't get
that they
on
have
the
to get
first
off.
flight. The second flight, 11:30 flight.
Get to the 7:45 flight.
Well, it's very pertinent to the situation because her fiance was cleared, got off, which made 5 people that now needed to board the last flight.
So there was an extra seat on the 11:30 flight.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that right? Mm-hmm. But you wanted to travel with your fiance.
Mm-hmm.
Well, why didn't somebody else get on that flight?
By then, the ramp, they had unlocked the doors, and once you came out of the door, you could not go back in there after they shut and locked them.
Should have let him go. Then you wouldn't have had trouble, right?
But he came back looking for me.
I got it, Miss Burden. All I'm saying is if he had gone to Vegas, you all would have been in Vegas by that night, right? You know, Miss Drunk Out of Her Mind and all the other people who were drinking would have gotten there. Go ahead.
So the last flight out, 7:45 flight, 4 seats available. She says 4 of us can stay on the flight. 1 person's going to have to stay. Because of all the confusion, we all were turned off that flight. It came down to the last minute. At the door, she's still saying, we have to go. 4 of you can stay on the plane. 1 of you has to go. And all the confusion, we all were escorted off that plane.
Well, the confusion, Miss Burden suggests, is because of your bad behavior.
That is not true.
Were you on the plane?
Yes, ma'am.
Your last name is?
Island.
Tell me about her behavior.
When we got on the plane, we knew that there was 5 seats where there was supposed to be 5 seats available. The lady tells us that there's only 4 seats available. So when I find out there's 4 seats, I'm like, okay, I'm going to get off, even though I know that these are my cousins, the whole reason we're going, but there's 4 people that can go, and I knew that I would be able to get there in the morning. So I was like, I can just get off the plane. Heather grabs me and says, no, don't get off the plane. She's still trying to converse with the lady, and there's only 4 seats available. There was no way that there was going to be another seat, and there was another lady. She was trying to get her bags into the overhead compartment, and we're all trying to help her get the bags. Heather tells me to go sit in the lady's seat, and I'm like, why would I sit in her seat? She already has a seat, you know what I'm saying? So that's really what happened on the plane.
You can sit down. You can stand up, sir. Why have you not yet married?
Money-wise, we saved for a whole year to go to Vegas to get married.
Well, what kind of deposits did you have there?
I have receipts for everything that I put a deposit on and paid for. And I have police reports and statements from the Atlanta Police Department and Air
I'd like to see
Train
the
Airways.
police report, please.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I think that when you cause somebody that kind of aggravation, there has to be some punitive action.
I honestly don't feel so. The fact
Well,
of the
I don't give a rat's behind what you think.
And later today,
I did not have enough money to pay the
Why
whole
don't you
rent.
get a job?
I did get a job.
Well, if you had a job and you're getting welfare and you're getting some child support, what did you have to ask for charity for?
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Alicia Burden claims her cousin's friend, Heather Duncan, caused her and her wedding party to be kicked off an airplane. Alicia says she had to cancel her wedding.
Well, this is a letter from Air Train Airways, directed to this gentleman who was employed by them, and it says, this is to notify you that your non-revenue and reduced rate travel privileges have been suspended for 180 days. This action is being taken as a result of an investigation into an incident concerning an individual traveling on your buddy pass under itinerary whatever. The individual in question is Miss Heather Duncan, that would be you, exhibited unprofessional and abusive conduct both towards our passengers and your fellow crew members. And you are responsible for all actions for your guest passenger, and you are responsible for notifying your past traveler of all policy and procedures. Well, you don't have to be notified to how to behave like a human being. They found that your conduct caused him to lose his privileges for 180 days. Can't hold your booze. And then the woman down at the luggage department says that you threw a pen and paper at her. You behaved very badly, Miss Duncan.
We had been at the airport for 13 hours. We were all very frustrated.
Nobody
and
else caused the same kind of scene that you did.
That's right. We were all very frustrated. Everybody was crying. Everybody was cussing. Our luggage was gone. I was the one that had to step up, talk to the lady about the luggage. I did.
You didn't talk to anybody.
I did.
You
I
were
lost my
screening
temper.
profanity, and you lost your temper, and you threw a pen at her, and you threw paper at her. But I'm not so sure, Miss Burden, that all of you were thrown off because of her conduct.
Our tickets were canceled because of her.
You mean your buddy pass tickets? So if you wanted to go to Vegas, you would have had to buy a ticket, purchase a ticket. Why didn't you do that?
We wouldn't have no money to get home.
What kind of work do you do?
I pack parts.
And you?
I'm a homemaker.
You are home together?
Yeah, we live together.
How long have you lived together?
About
8 years.
Yeah.
8 years. You have children, I assume?
Yes.
How many?
3.
Well, so there's no real big rush about getting married. This is not a, you know, this is a marriage that's been coming on for 8 years.
Yeah.
And what's wrong with getting married in Michigan?
That's what we're going to do now.
Good. That's what you should do now.
Yeah.
You caused them a lot of aggravation, Miss Duncan. And I think that when you cause somebody that kind of aggravation, because you couldn't control your actions, there has to be some punitive action that's available.
I honestly don't feel so. The fact of
Well,
the
I
matter...
don't give a rat's behind what you think. This is not a touchy-feely situation, madam. They planned this day, planned to be in Las Vegas, planned to have a wedding, and because of your bad behavior, they weren't able to do that. And I think that you are responsible for some of the pain and suffering, although I usually don't even like to entertain those lawsuits because of your bad behavior. Not only that, but you caused him aggravation as well. You were the only stranger to this wedding party, and you didn't behave yourself. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,500. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Well, she did the best job she could, so, you know, ain't really nothing I can do but keep it moving.
It was very upsetting. I didn't get married.
They should have gotten on the plane, and everything would have been fine.
She got issues and problems that she needs to seek counseling about.
They just wanted money. They got what they wanted, so, you know, keep it moving.
The drunk ain't worth a piece of gum on the bottom of my shoe.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Acree versus Jones. Step forward, please.
28-year-old Karen Acree is suing her ex-boyfriend, Donald Jones, for rent and utility bills. Donald is countersuing for rent, lost wages, and a loan to get her stereo out of pawn.
Miss Acree, according to your complaint, you and Mr. Jones lived together for a period of time in a lease that you both signed.
That is correct.
There was a problem with an altercation that the two of you had.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Acree versus Jones. Step forward, please.
28-year-old Karen Acree is suing her ex-boyfriend, Donald Jones, for rent and utility bills. Donald is countersuing for rent, lost wages, and a loan to get her stereo out of pawn.
Miss Acree, according to your complaint, you and Mr. Jones lived together for a period of time in a lease that you both signed.
That is correct.
There was a problem with an altercation that the two of you had. He was put out of the apartment. You claim he owes you some bills, some rent and utilities. Mr. Jones says that he paid up while he was living there. Once he was put out of the apartment, he has no intention of paying for rent and utilities. And he claims that you actually owe him money for some loans and assorted stuff. So he has a counterclaim. When did you move in together?
In July of 2004.
What was the rent on the apartment?
$650.
Who moved in?
Both of us did.
Anybody else?
My daughter.
So the three of you moved in?
Yes, she's 5 years old.
You get child support for her?
Barely, but yes.
What was the financial arrangements you had with Mr. Jones?
He signed the lease as well, and he would be paying half of the rent.
Was that your arrangement, Mr. Jones?
Correct.
Where were you working at the time, Miss Acree?
I was in and out of jobs. I was working through temp agencies.
So you weren't working steadily?
No.
And what about you, Mr. Jones?
I work for County Road and Bridge Department, 10, 12-hour days.
Steadily?
Yes,
How much were you earning, Mr. Jones?
$1,200 a month.
And how did you put your money into the rent?
Every 2 weeks I cash my check, and since she was home during the day, she would take care of the bills. I'd just give her money.
Is that right?
That is not correct, Your Honor.
Well, tell me how you were paying your bills if you weren't working full-time.
I was paying it through TANF, which is temporary aid for families in need, and that's what I get each month. And then
You get
I would
welfare?
get, yes.
Well, that's an easier term. Let me ask you this question, Miss Acree. Why in the world would I award you any money from Mr. Jones when the state was paying your rent?
Because he did not pay his share like he was supposed to.
That's not correct.
Okay. What happened in October?
October, he got physically violent with me, threw a cell phone at me, bruised me. I had to call 911 because this happened in front of my child.
So that was in October.
Yes.
October what?
October 10th.
You filed for protective order?
Yes.
What happened with that protective order?
That got dropped.
By whom? What do you mean
By
got
me.
dropped? You dropped it?
Yes.
Why?
Because of the fact that after he had been in jail, he had to go to domestic violence classes, and we went to court and everything. I figured everything was okay.
Did you let him back into the house?
I told him he could come back into the house, yes.
Did he come back into
Yes.
the house? When?
In December.
For how long?
until I got evicted in February.
Did you stay with her in January and February?
No, I didn't. I moved out of our apartment on the 10th to my parents' house. And
10th of October?
Correct.
Were you put out by the police, Mr. Jones?
I was arrested there at the apartment.
How long did you stay in jail in October?
2 days.
Did you move back with Miss Acree?
No, ma'am.
You did not?
No, I live with my parents. And in November, she contacted my parents' church trying to borrow money to pay her rent, in which case my dad was contacted by the church because my name was on the lease as well.
And you asked for some money?
From a church, yes, I did.
Why?
Because of the fact I did not have enough money to pay the whole
Why did you
rent.
get a job?
I did get a job.
Well, if you had a job and you're getting welfare and you're getting some child support, what did you have to ask for charity for?
Because at the time I did not have a steady job, but I did.
So you
after
didn't have a
that.
job. Where are you working now?